that when they're going through breakups is literally leave the relationship as if the whole relationship was your own fault. It's entirely your fault. And the reason I encourage kind of unwavering accountability is that's the only way you'll make changes. One of the trends that we've kind of seen in the last couple of years is everybody's ex-husband or ex-wife is a narcissist. Everybody's a narcissist. And the reason why I'm so against that is it kind of devours personal responsibility. You are no longer responsible for your poor choices. That person's simply a narcissist. That person's a psychopath. It's got nothing to do with your selection. But really, the only reason we find ourselves in bad relationships is because we select poorly. Outside of your relationships with your parents and your children, everybody else is selected. So if you're selecting a narcissist, you have an addiction to being a victim. Yeah. You like the abuse. You're choosing it. Now, I'm not saying it as an insult. I'm saying there is a part of you that is selecting this level of abuse. Now, if you leave every relationship as if it's just their fault, you did nothing wrong, I was just a victim of narcissism, you're not going to learn the traits that...
She's talking about personal responsibility for our choices. And it's true. Sometimes you end up with a person that may be a narcissist or who's abusive. And sometimes those choices that we're making, for some reason, we're selecting or choosing that individual, whether or not we know that they're going to be abusive. But there's something about us that maybe it's past trauma, maybe it's the childhood abuse that we've experienced. So then it's normalized deep and internally, and therefore we select because that's something that we're accustomed to. So yeah, she does have a point here.
Caused you to attach to this toxic person, and then you're going to repeat the pattern. And this is one of the reasons why women that get divorced and deprive their partner, like from an abusive partner, for example, that when they separate from the man and they don't allow him to have access to the children are more at danger. And they're more likely to get sexually abused, and they're more likely to be physically abused. And women will say, I blocked access because I was trying to protect my children. But we know those children are more at risk. And the reason being is because that woman didn't reflect on her choices. She didn't reflect on her decision making. She just simply chose an abusive partner. Oh my God, he's so bad. You're never seeing the kids again. Never doing this. I'm protecting the kids. The children are now exposed to a different form of abuse. Yeah. So if we don't reflect, we repeat.
Yes, absolutely.
No, when I got divorced, I guess it was like 7 or 8 years ago now. I, rather than pointing a finger, blaming this person, that person, anyone, I just took 100% of the responsibility for everything. Yeah. Everything.
It
all
helped.
My fault.
Yeah.
And by doing that, I mean, it wasn't all my fault, but that's how I looked at it for many years, up until just maybe recently. And by doing that, I was able to do things very differently and change my life. And I'm in a better position now than I think I've ever been.
What did you learn from doing that?
Just not to be careless, not to be reckless, to be... to have discipline.
Yeah, that's a good one to
Discipline's a great one. I mean, it's like I've always had great discipline, but now I have tremendous discipline. Like, I'm not going to let anything get to me that shouldn't be.
And what I mean by accountability is not like, oh my God, it's all my fault, let me try and fix it with that person. It's all my fault because I ignored every red flag, every single red flag. And one thing I always say is women, they never lie. Neither do men. Men and women do not lie. They tell you the truth.
They always lie.
You think that, but they show you the truth.
Oh, I see.
Verbally, they might lie. But you know what it is? Your behaviors, your mannerisms, your aura, your energy, your habits, they don't lie at all. So every time I have a man or a woman that come to me and they say, I was, with a narcissist and they were this and they were that, blah, blah, blah. And I said, what happened on the first date? What happened in the first week? And they'll say, no, they were great, they were fantastic. And I said, no, think carefully. What actually happened? Well, the first time I met him, he was in a relationship, he was married at the time. There you go. They showed you they were able to live two lives. Or the man will say, the first time I met her, she was in a strip club, she was a stripper, but there you go. Did she lie to you, or did she show you who she was? She showed you. And men and women, we all do this. We all show every red flag that we're going to bring to the table, and we pick the person who is either naive enough to believe us or compatible with our red flags. Yeah, it could be either or, and we pick that person. So we don't need to lie. We show them, and they accept the truth. They just don't accept it, literally.
Sometimes
Very true. It's the red flags. There's a saying that when a man or woman shows you who they are or tell you who they are, believe them. But so we tend to overlook the red flags, especially when it's a new relationship, and we make all kind of excuses, whether that's coming from a man or a woman. We make excuses for the behavior, and then later on, deep into the relationship, it doesn't work, or there are severe issues, and then we wonder why it didn't work. Because the red flags were there all along.
I think, and it's not just social media, it's also like there was magazines and television that exposed us to so many people, so many attractive people.
Yeah. Only attractive people.
Only attractive people, really. And we just got used to looking at that, and that's what we longed for.
Yep.
And we got to a point where we're not going to accept anything other than that.
Yeah.
And that's not meant for a lot of us.
It's not meant for you. And here's the thing, if you have to pay for an attractive partner in installments of your self-respect because they keep degrading you, they keep cheating on you, it's not worth it. I don't know, you know what, I have to say, and I really want to preface this, I understand sometimes some people are privileged because they might just have the options, and a lot of women, I'm not talking about all women, but a lot of women, majority of the time, when they walk into a room and they like the look of a man, chances are he'll like you back. So we don't really know what the rejection feels like, and we don't know what it's like to long after somebody that is not interested in you. But one thing I can guarantee you, it's not going to feel good. No matter how beautiful she is, the treatment you receive is what you should focus on. As much as she might make you look good in public, if she treats you badly in private, it's never worth it.
Do women feel the pain of rejection the way a man does?
Overweight women do. And I know this sounds really offensive. Overweight women do. What happens with overweight women, they'll only tell you this when they lose the weight. And they'll see a huge difference in how men treat them. They go from being either invisible or treated like one of the boys and given some like human kind of interaction to now being really, really stared at and adored and all these things. And that jump makes them realize how much of a difference, a reaction you get from men based on your body. So, and it can really, really mess with them, yeah, because they almost have the self-esteem of somebody who is really overweight, but they're getting the attention of somebody who's really beautiful, and they don't know how to select. They simply don't know how to select because their self-esteem is still low, but their appearance is still attractive. So I think women have that experience of rejection. And here's what it looks like more for women. And this is why they compete with each other. Women are only truly rejected when they're around more attractive women. If you're just by yourself as an unattractive woman, you walk down the street, nothing happens, no worries, you go home, mind your business. But when you walk down the street with a beautiful woman and you see how she's treated by other men, or you go to a club with a beautiful woman, or you go for dinner with a beautiful woman and men are just flocking to her, that's when they experience the rejection the most, which is one of the reasons why attractive women tend to flock together. Because when you're with women that are considerably less attractive, they feel uncomfortable with that disparity in treatment. And men are they're so forgetful. They'll see a beautiful girl, they'll ignore all their friends and just home in on one. They might throw the odd compliment here and there, but really they mean it to one. So they can be quite harsh with that as well. So that's when they feel it the most.
Yeah, for men, I can tell you, it's like when you get rejected by an attractive woman, I can remember this happening when I was younger. It's like you are being judged. Like you are not meant to reproduce on this planet.
Is that how you feel?
That's how you feel. Like you're just not. It's like you're. It's not like this girl's just not right for you. It's like no girl is right for you.
Well, one thing I would say, and this is going to sound super offensive, and I'm going to be careful with how I word it. I grew up in London. Very, very multicultural, and because of my ethnicity is not very clear, I could essentially be from Middle East, I could be from Pakistan, I could be from India, I could maybe even be parts of Eastern Europe, whatever. People can't really tell. So what would happen is I would get interest from men from all different cultures, and I noticed such a big difference in men from that. And one thing I always have noticed, and I know this sounds really offensive, I tell men that there is a huge difference culturally in how men handle rejection. Now, when a man, and same in America, what I have noticed is men from Hispanic culture or more African Caribbean culture, when they get rejected, they handle it perfectly. And that's why they have so much success with women.
They laugh that you're saying no to them and they go back and try again.
Yes, I know exactly what she's talking about. They don't take it personal. They laugh it off and, it just rolls off. Like if you tell them you're not interested in them or you just don't give them that inclination that you're available or even interested to talk to them even further, they just move on. Like they don't feel away. They're not rude. At least I haven't experienced that. They're not rude and calling you names and stuff like that. But it's true what she's saying.
And that's why they're so desired by women. If you meet, one of the things that you hear online.
Yeah, I've seen this in South America.
You'll see it in South America.
Crazy.
This is what happens when you go South America, or when you go in areas where there's a large African American society, whatever it is. You go walk past and like, damn, you look great. Sorry, I have a husband. He's a lucky guy. Have a great day. And they move on to the next. Simple. And as a result, there's always women in their world. What happens to other men from different kind of cultural backgrounds, they place their social validity on her response. If she says no to him, oh my gosh, she's the only girl in the world. I'm never going to get a girl again. Oh my God, I'm never doing this again. I always say to them, just emulate that behavior that you see in Hispanic men, that you see if you emulate that behavior, because what I found fascinating when I was in South America, I'd have a man literally proposing to me, making me feel like I'm the only woman in the world. 2 minutes later, I'd turn over and he's talking to another girl. And I'd be like, I didn't even finish rejecting you. How did you move on so fast? They move on so quickly because they realize there's more humans in the world. And because they have that mentality, they never, ever allow a woman to make them feel like, he's nothing. And they never get too attached too quick.
Yeah, or I've seen a guy approach a girl,
Yeah.
Make it clear that he's interested. She turns him down. He just laughs at it and he's not even fazed by her rejection. He just keeps at it, and she's just laughing at him.
Yeah.
And eventually he becomes so charming because he's fun and he
doesn't
charming,
personalize.
and eventually she gives in.
He doesn't personalize. Here's what happens when we reject a man. We're seeing whether our rejection confirms what he thinks about himself or it disproves what he thinks about himself.
He knows he's worthy.
He knows he's worthy. So what happens in some men, you reject them and they'll be like, well, are you sure you're missing out? There's a great, wait, are you sure you want to say no to this?
It's a great
response.
And
it's that kind of response that we're feeling like he knows something I don't. And as a woman, and this is going to sound very crude, there is something that men know that we don't. Biologically, physically, if you know what I'm talking about. So when he gives that attitude, like, are you sure you don't want this because you're in for a treat if you do, we get the impression that this person's successful. At women, no, not in life, at women. But when he's like, oh God, he gets all nervous and now he's upset for a couple of days and he can't stop beating himself up and replaying, we're confirming the belief that he has about himself that he's not good enough.
Yeah, he's not good enough. He's lack confidence. He's not good with women. It's true.
So we're looking to see what your self-belief is with the rejection. And again, this is all unconscious. Women don't know that they're doing this. That gets into
testing from women too, right?
You're testing to see your self-belief. When you act like my rejection is my loss, there must be something about you that's interesting. And that's what we attach to.
I once had a man, I was walking down the street and I once had a man actually he proposed to me. I've never known this man from Adam, but he was smitten and he was going to marry me, but haven't seen him since then. But quite interesting that she talked about that, a man proposing. It does happen.
Tell me about women testing men.
Well, unfortunately, it's what we kind of are designed to do. Here's the thing, biologically, we having a child with somebody, just remember there's no anesthetic in evolutionary times, there's no hospitals, there's nothing like that. Childbirth could literally, very literally mean death. So if you're going to reproduce with a man, which is one of the reasons I think like the advent of contraceptives have really changed women's attitude, but before that, it would be, if I reproduce with you, it's life or death. This is a really, really important decision. Yeah. So we would have to test him to see his tolerance levels and his boundaries and his ability to, kind of soothe emotions. We're testing everything to see if he can lead the situation. Now, the problem is to pass the test, you have to have more stable emotions than her. And what I mean by that is, if I say to you, fuck you, this, that, and you start saying, fuck you, that, and it becomes a whole big mess, we don't like that. But at the same time, if you just sit back and take it, we don't like that either. Because we need somebody who won't be as emotional as us, but won't allow us to get excessively emotional because he has boundaries. And it's finding that balance, which is so hard for a man. I don't know how I would handle it if I was a man. But it's a case of you want to show her that you're not as erratic as her, But at the same time, you don't tolerate this level of eroticism, even though she's pushing you and pushing you. And it's a really hard thing to do because some women will really, really test you and you want to explode. But we're looking for you to stay calm in those situations, but also not accept those situations. We don't mean so calm that you roll over and let us do it again and again. You don't accept it, but you also don't stoop to it. And that's what we're kind of looking for in that moment, which is...
It's great. And there you have Sadia Khan, a psychologist, and she speaks on these matters. I featured her on the show or before, and she gives some in-depth insights into relationships, into the sexual dynamics between men and women, and